Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. It started on a Friday. You know the kind, when the whole week's tension hangs on your shoulders, and the only thing keeping you from snapping is silence. I had told him straight up, I'm mad. I need space. He nodded, but that look in his eyes said something else. He heard my words, sure, but did he feel them? We'd been together long enough to read between the lines, and maybe that was the problem. Sometimes, when you know someone too well, you stop asking questions and start assuming answers. That night, he didn't ask. He just walked up behind me while I stood at the kitchen counter, hands deep in the sink, still fuming over the argument we had an hour earlier. And then, he kissed my neck. It wasn't romantic. Not right away. It was confusing. Warm. Annoying. Electric. 1,000 feelings hit me at once, and not all of them made sense. Because how do you stay mad at someone who knows exactly where your weakness is, and uses it, not to hurt you, but to pull you closer? The story behind that kiss isn't simple. It's not about forgiveness or passion. It's about that messy, gray space in relationships where love doesn't always look like love. Where people do things they think will fix it, when really, they're just trying not to lose the person they care about. He didn't say sorry. He didn't even ask if it was okay. That kiss was a statement. And I had a choice: push him away or lean into the moment and figure out what the hell was really going on. So what happened after that kiss? Let's just say, it changed everything. But not in the way either of us expected. This story isn't just about a kiss. It's about tension, communication, or the lack of it, and what happens when two people think they know each other, but still manage to surprise one another. It's about real love, not the pretty Instagram kind. The kind with silence, raised voices, awkward apologies, and moments where you ask yourself, is this love, or just habit? Before we jump in, I want to know what you think. If you were in my place, would you have pulled away or leaned in? Drop your thoughts in the comments, no filters. Be honest. Also, check the poll on the screen and vote: would you forgive someone who kisses you in the middle of a fight? And yeah, if you're into relationship stories that don't sugarcoat anything, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because this one's about to get real. And trust me, the next part? You're not ready for it. I didn't move. I couldn't. His lips were still on my neck, soft, slow. Like he was testing the waters, not sure if I'd pull away or let it happen. And the worst part? I wanted to stay mad. I needed to stay mad. But my body was already betraying me, leaning back just enough for him to notice, not enough to admit anything. The kitchen was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. I remember the dishes in the sink, the smell of dish soap, the way my hands stayed frozen in the water even though it was turning cold. My heart? It was loud. And that kiss didn't help. It wasn't just about the argument anymore, it was about everything we hadn't said in weeks. We hadn't been right lately. Not since I got the new job and started coming home later. Not since he started acting like everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. We stopped checking in, stopped asking each other real questions. You ever get that feeling like you're living with someone, but it's like you're just two people sharing space? That's where we were. And tonight, things boiled over. It started with a dumb joke he made while we were watching TV, and I snapped. Not because of the joke, but because of everything that had built up behind it. I told him I was tired, overwhelmed, and mad that he didn't notice how much I was carrying. He said, I didn't think it was that deep. That was the moment. The shift. I walked away, into the kitchen, thinking that was it for the night. That we'd go to bed in silence again, both pretending to sleep while facing opposite directions. But then he followed me. And kissed me. And that's where things got blurry. The thing is, he wasn't usually the type to make a move when things were tense. He avoided conflict. So what made him do it tonight? Was it guilt? Desire? Fear of losing me? I didn't know. And I hated that I didn't know. He whispered my name, barely loud enough to hear. But I heard it. And that softness in his voice, it shook me more than the kiss did. What was he trying to fix with that kiss? And what was I supposed to do with the way it made me feel? I turned around slowly, still not sure what to say. His face was close, too close, but his eyes weren't looking at me like they usually did. There was something in them, like regret, or maybe confusion. He didn't smile. He didn't try to charm his way out of the moment. He just stood there, hands in his pockets now, like he didn't know what to do next. I said I was mad, I reminded him, my voice low. Not angry, just tired. And maybe a little shaky. I know, he said, barely above a whisper. But you didn't walk away from me. That line hit harder than I wanted to admit. Because he was right. I didn't walk away. I could've, and maybe I should've. But something in me needed to see what he'd do next. This wasn't just about tonight. It was about months of building pressure. He used to talk more, used to open up. But lately, it felt like he was keeping things in. Like he was holding on to something he didn't want to say out loud. And I had my secrets too. Things I didn't bring up because I didn't want to deal with the mess they might cause. Like the way I kept texting someone from work, a guy who always got me. It wasn't flirty, at least not intentionally. But it was a space I could vent, and maybe that said something about where we were. And him? He'd been spending more time at his cousin's house lately. Said it was just to clear his head, but I'd noticed he stopped inviting me along. There were layers here. Miscommunication, assumptions, distance. We weren't just dealing with a kiss. We were standing in the middle of a slow drift that neither of us had the guts to fully name. I looked at him and asked, "What are we doing right now?" He paused. Trying. I think. Trying. That word sat heavy in the air. And then my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at it. A message from him. The coworker. Just a casual "You still up?" but it felt like a brick hitting the ground. He didn't see the screen. But I felt the weight of it. I want to know what you think. Do you believe two people can find their way back from this kind of tension? Or does silence and small distance mean the love's already slipping away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were in my shoes? I didn't touch the phone. I just stared at the screen until it went dark again, like maybe if I didn't react, it would disappear. But it didn't. It stayed there in the back of my mind, burning. He was still standing in front of me, eyes locked on mine, like he was waiting for something, an answer, a sign, anything. I didn't give him one. Not yet. Is there something you're not telling me? He asked suddenly, his voice steady but low, like he was testing how much truth I could handle. I blinked. Why would you say that? He shrugged, but it wasn't casual. You've been somewhere else lately. Like you're here, but not really. I swallowed hard. He wasn't wrong. But he wasn't innocent either. I thought about all the late nights he claimed he was at his cousin's place, all the times he left without saying much, like he didn't owe me answers. And now here we were, two people circling around a truth neither of us had the courage to name. You haven't exactly been present either, I said, keeping my tone even. You come home, you say nothing, and then expect me to pretend like everything's okay. He stepped back, like I'd shoved him. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. That hurt. Because I'd been trying. I'd asked him how he was doing, tried to start conversations, even when he shut them down. But maybe he felt the distance too. Maybe he just didn't know how to reach me through it. I took a breath, but my chest felt tight. So what are we doing? Are we pretending we're still good because we don't want to deal with what happens if we're not? Silence. He looked like he wanted to speak, but something held him back. That's when I knew. There was something. A missing piece neither of us had put on the table yet. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more tense, his phone lit up on the counter behind him. A name popped up. A name I didn't recognize. A text, "Can't wait to see you again." Neither of us moved. We just stood there. Two people in the middle of a quiet explosion. What do you think that text meant? Coincidence, or something deeper? Let me know in the comments, because things are about to get real. I finally looked at him, not the way I usually did, but like I was seeing him for the first time in weeks. He noticed. His eyes shifted, trying to follow mine, until he caught the glow from his phone on the counter. He turned his head slowly. Then he saw it. The message. He didn't reach for the phone. Didn't try to explain. Just stared at it like maybe if he stood still long enough, it would all disappear. I broke the silence first. Who is that? Still nothing. That pause said more than any excuse he could have come up with. My heart was beating in my ears, and my throat was dry, but I had to know. I wasn't about to be the only one in this room holding secrets. That guy from work? He texted me too, I said. But I didn't reply. He finally looked at me. Really looked. Why are we doing this? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You tell me. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. He stepped forward, still calm, too calm, and said, "That text, it's not what you think. But it is complicated. I was going to tell you, just not like this." Tell me what? I asked, my voice sharp now. And then he dropped it. She's not someone I'm seeing. She's someone I used to know, and I just found out she might be my daughter. Everything stopped. Like someone muted the entire world. I blinked. What? He nodded slowly. It was years ago. Way before us. I didn't even know she existed until last week. She reached out. I met with her once. That's it. I didn't know what to feel: jealousy, betrayal, confusion, fear. It all hit at once. And suddenly, every little crack in our relationship felt deeper. This wasn't just about us anymore. There were people, truths, entire histories we didn't know about. The room was heavy with everything unsaid. He didn't defend himself. He didn't try to make me feel better. He just stood there, waiting to see if I'd stay or walk away. If you were me, what would you do? Would you believe him? Would you keep listening, or is that the moment everything changes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this story? It's not even close to over. I stared at him, waiting for something, proof, explanation, anything that would help me wrap my head around what he just said. A daughter? Out of nowhere? My mind was racing, but my feet felt like they were glued to the floor. I could tell he was serious. He wasn't just saying it to cover up the text. His face held too much weight for it to be a lie. She's 17, he said quietly. Her mom never told me. She showed up out of the blue, said she just wanted to meet me once. I didn't even know how to tell you. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table, still trying to catch up. You should have told me the second you found out. Not let me find out like this. I know, he said. I panicked. I thought I could handle it first. Figure it out before I dropped it on you. It almost made sense. Almost. But trust doesn't work like that. You don't get to filter what parts of your life come into mine, especially not something this big. I'm not mad that she exists, I said, looking him in the eye. I'm mad that you didn't trust me enough to handle it with you. He nodded. You're right. There was a long silence after that. But for the first time all night, it didn't feel like we were avoiding something. We were both finally sitting with the truth. Then my phone buzzed again. I didn't even want to look, but I did. This time, the message wasn't from the guy at work. It was from a private number, Ask him about that weekend in Miami. He's not telling you everything. I froze. I didn't say anything out loud, but he saw my face shift. What is it? He asked, taking a step closer. I turned the phone toward him. His jaw clenched. That's her mom, he said slowly. I told you I didn't know. But I didn't say how messy it got when she showed up. So now there was more. Something he still hadn't told me. And the worst part? I could tell he was deciding, right there in front of me, whether to come clean or lie again. If you were me, would you keep pushing for answers? Or is this where you finally walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because just when I thought I had the truth, another layer showed up. I looked at him and didn't say a word. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But instead, I waited. I waited for him to either tell me the truth or finally admit he never planned to. He sat across from me at the table, rubbing his hands together like he was trying to figure out how to explain something that didn't sound good no matter how it came out. Then finally, he spoke. That weekend in Miami. I went to meet her. The mom. Not for anything romantic. She just asked me to come so we could talk about how to handle everything with her daughter, our daughter. But she had other plans. I raised my eyebrows. What does that mean? She wanted to pick up where things left off. Thought maybe now that I knew about the kid, we'd try to be a family. And did you? No, he said instantly, almost too fast. I told her I wasn't in love with her. I told her about you. That I was with someone who actually knows me, even if I've been too scared to show her everything. My chest ached. Part of me wanted to believe him. The other part kept flashing back to that message. I wasn't sure if I could trust my instincts anymore. He leaned in. You can be mad. You can walk away. I'd understand. But I promise you, I didn't cheat. I didn't lie about her existing. I just didn't know how to tell you, because I didn't want to lose you. I stayed quiet for a while. Then I asked one last question. Is there anything else you're hiding from me? He shook his head. No. That's it. I believed him. Not because I was weak or wanted to ignore red flags, but because something in his voice finally felt honest. Raw. Like he'd dropped the mask. I stood up and walked to the sink, stared out the window. Everything had changed. We couldn't go back to how things were, and honestly, maybe that was a good thing. But for the first time in a long time, we were standing in the same truth. I turned around and said, if we do this, everything has to be on the table. No more half-truths. He nodded. Agreed. It wasn't the fairy tale ending. But it was real. And sometimes, that's better than perfect. If you made it this far, I want to know, did I make the right call? Should I have walked away or given him another chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want a sequel or follow-up on what happens with the daughter, let me know. Because this might be the end of the story, or just the beginning of a new one.